So I'm going to be answering as much as I can. The question is a segue about the squatters. I already talked to you about the two bills I have to require the homeowners to basically rent out the vacant parcels and expedite demolition permits because like what happened in Oahu was a vacant home that had a demolition permit that was on the books for so long, squatters moved in, caused a fire, burned down surrounding houses. And that's what's similar to what happened to our Akibono Theater here, right? So I am going to basically require the homeowner to rent it out, increase affordable housing, you know, there are homeless services people who could manage the homeless people in these vacant houses, as well as that way it also increases. So the other laws that's already in the books is one, I have 2015, we passed a law basically allowing homeowners associations and neighbors to actually sue the squatters themselves to evict, so they have standing instead of just the homeowner. Second thing was what Officer Brzezinski said was basically, in the event the prosecutor decides to go after the squatter, we have allowed the and the homeowner. We have basically required the property owner to make sure that the names on the property tax offices are current, because we're saying that that's proper service, whatever is on the books. Because if you're paying property taxes, you should know who it is, what property it is you own. So that's one of the things that we are putting in. So as Officer Brzezinski says, I am well aware of the squatter problem, and hopefully these measures we have will help out. And I know that Prosecutor Mitch Roth used already one of my laws allowing for homeowners association and neighbors to evict some squatters. So we are moving forward on that. Thank you. So next one. Question is the HB 641. All of these people who are so knowledgeable about the legislature special. Okay, HB 641 is what I told you folks about the boat ramp. It didn't move, but that doesn't mean it's dead. Okay, capital improvements usually get funded separately. It's called a capital improvement wish list. The reason why we have the bill is to get community input to see whether or not our request for such funding is backed up. Okay, so the fact that it didn't move doesn't mean that it's dead. It means it's just that it's going to be funded elsewhere. Second question it has is, what will happen to SB 1298? SB 1298 is Senator Ruderman's method of funding Highway 132 improvements. Okay, that was at a time before. You got to remember, it took a long time. I mean, I saw Eileen O'Hara leave, but remember when she was county council, she was asking for a special session. It took a long time to try to get money from the state legislature. And so Senator Ruderman said, you know, at the very least, let's start funding specific projects, and that's one of the projects. But since then, since Highway 132 is a county road, and we are giving the county monies, which hopefully they will be able to match with FEMA grants, because one of the things that Tom Travis didn't talk about is there's also hazard mitigation money, right? Okay, which increased as of November last year, right? So hopefully we could use that increased funding to maximize and quintuple the money that the state is giving the county. So that's the reason that's why that isn't moving. We are having the county determine and assess whether or not that's one of the things they're going to be funding. And you guys saw the front page. The mayor said that that's the #1 priority, at least a temporary road. But we'll have County Council Ashley Kirkowitz address that later on. Okay, the next question is a safe swimming area. I've already discussed that. We are moving forward towards that. Do we still own our properties even though they are completely covered? And the answer is yes. Those of you in California, my husband being one of them, know that we are still paying our damn taxes on our covered property. So yes. How do we know, how do we find it with meets and bounds, you know? That's a problem that predates the people in Kalapana too. You know, it's, you're on your own on that one. You gotta go hire a surveyor if you really want to know where your meets and bounds is. Can you will it to your children? Yes, of course, because you still own it. Okay, the only question is the new land, yeah? The new land that's created in Kapoho, that's all state-owned. So if you had oceanfront in Kapoho, that's no longer oceanfront, sorry. You know, that's state property in front of your own. Okay, the next question that we haven't answered yet that I could, before I pass it on, is Fern Acres. We don't have County Councilman Kleinfelder here, so we're not going to answer. It's FA. It says FA. Okay. I think that's Fern Acres. Sorry, we can't answer. I don't know. I've heard that they closed some roads on that. Councilwoman Kleinfelder isn't here, and so we will pass that question on to Kleinfelder, to Matt. And last one is about, well, papaya. What are you doing to displace papaya farmers who lost their farms? Okay, so papaya farmers know that there's like this co-op, right? There is the Papaya Farmers Association. Some of them are going towards some shipment lands and getting a leasehold there. I am pushing for DLNR to provide some lands that's closer to the airport. Okay, and I keep nagging them. I got DLNR approval to do that. That needs to be reclassified and then reopened up for leasing. And like I had also told you, we're also giving College of Tropical Ag monies to expedite the papaya farm growth. So it'll be a heck of a lot easier when they do have their property to restart, if that is what in fact they want to restart. The other questions are rentals on vacant properties and foreclosures. We talked about that, okay? The bill hasn't passed yet, and I am going to tell you that there is a lot of, except for a few people here from Puna who I asked to go testify in favor of it, most of the testimony is against it. All the realtors don't want me to make the foreclosure people, the banks rent out the vacant homes. So it's during the period of foreclosure. That's exactly right. That was exactly it. And we know it could go on for years. So that's and that would have been really helpful when FEMA wanted to pay out rents for these vacant homes. They were more than willing to do it. I just couldn't get the owners to rent them out. Okay, so that's the reason for that. And the question is, property exchange, you know, I know that was Senator Ruderman's idea. We're giving the money to the county. They're gonna decide with the monthly reports whether or not that's something feasible. Okay, the people who were involved with the property exchange over in Kalapana knew that it took like over 30 years. In fact, so the actual people who got victimized didn't get advantage of it, it's their kids. So from the state level, that's the reason we're giving them the money. That way they can expedite recovery, and which doesn't necessarily mean a property exchange, and probably highly unlikely based upon prior history that that's what we're going to do. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Ashley to answer.
I think I have the biggest stack of questions here. No fair, you guys. There are a number of questions here related to Highway 132, Highway 137. Is a temporary Highway 132 access road really the #1 priority of the mayor? As far as I've heard, yes it is. And I met with Public Works last week, the director and deputy, to figure out where they are. Right now, they are doing the survey and design work for grading temporary access. As soon as we have a more, I think, clear timeline as to when they're going to get those plans submitted to the feds, then we'll know how much it's going to cost. Feel free to give me your contact information and I can communicate with you the timeline. It's not as quick as we want, but the thing of it is we don't have the money. And so we have to follow the process of the federal government, put in that paperwork, do things their way if we want the money to restore access. Can Governor Ige declare an emergency proclamation like he just did for Kauai until April 15th? I've just texted the governor's liaison, Fresh Onishi, and have told him that we are at a live panel discussion, and so I would love an answer.
He said he was coming and then he said he couldn't. So.
There was a question about where the $170,355 came from for Bill 12. That was not from Pu'uhonua o Puna, that was from private donors. $150,000 came from Puna Geothermal, about $20,000 from a Japanese sister city for the county, and the equivalent of like a Chamber of Commerce in Japan gave about $355. So that's where that money came from. Requesting a community forum on overlay within and among community-wide CDPs related to mass transit hub and spoke. On that front, I'm meeting with Mass Transit next week to talk about this idea. They want to stand up a hub immediately, and so as soon as I get that information, I will push it out to you. Inter-subdivision connectivity, yes, that's long overdue, as well as connectivity and emergency response in general. Hear you loud and clear. And, you know, in talking about this community development, I'm putting together an advisory hui of folks in the district. So if you're interested in serving, I would love to have folks. I know that Nancy Seepers has put in an application, and the idea is, can I work with, you know, various community representatives throughout District 4 to talk very openly and candidly about things that are facing the county, and can we set priorities and make decisions together? SB 1298 asks for $15 million to reopen 132. My question is, does road recovery have to come out of 1180? Believe that is something for the administration and the council to determine together, but there are lots of pots of monies elsewhere, including capital improvement project money for Puna that could cover that cost. There's also that $40 million that's a part of 1180 that could be used for road infrastructure. Also, please speak of the 0.25% tax increase voted in by the council. Isn't that for road work only? In Kona, the bill that's being referenced here is Bill 19, that is to increase the general excise tax from 0.25% to 0.5%, and then to remove the sunset of 2020. And it passed the council on first reading with 2 no votes. I'll be very upfront, I did vote for it. Not an easy thing to do to raise taxes, but I really feel that if we don't start being smart about investing in infrastructure and paying for a legitimate mass transit system, if we don't do that now, when are we going to do it? I refuse to make this become a problem for my kids and in the future, and so I really appreciate everyone's support and recognizing that this is a critical investment in our community. The mayor and his finance director have asked for flexibility for the general excise tax. I've been very clear in saying that I do not support flexibility to balance our budget. I've been very clear that I'm going to be hopefully putting together a budget ad hoc committee to get a handle on our spending. But to be very clear, the general excise tax is just for things related to transportation and our mass transit system. We need to invest in that. Lastly, do 1180 funds require monthly expenditure reports by the council before or after the money is spent? Will constituents be consulted before expending? Yes. There is council oversight because the legislature wanted to ensure that council and mayor and the community are working in collaboration. The council will provide yes or no to the administration every month to determine how that money will be spent. So you will definitely be hearing from me. Yes?
So, I'm sorry, no, wait a second. We need to wrap up. It's 3 o'clock. Please write your questions.
State funds for Section 8 for low-income seniors. As far as I know, there is, on the website, on the county's website, you can go to online services. I know that the Section 8 wait list is closed currently, but there are other wait lists that are open that you can apply for, including the tenant-based rental assistance that provides rental assistance for those who are in need. And the other question addressed more mental health workers. So in response to the Kilauea eruptions, there is, Care Hawaii was given a federal contract They have a team AHA that's out there, and I'll forward information to the representative, and she can forward it out to her email, but they continue to provide services out there.
The question that I have is, how do you screen for the micro units, and are there support services offered? So when we first opened up the micro units, we actually went to the shelters in KL and Pahoa and did our screening at the shelters. And the first group we brought in was the seniors in medical need that was in the senior center. So those were the first groups that went into the micro units. Since then, we take referrals from the street database that Paul described. So if you're intaked and referred, we will get an email from the referral system from Paul's organization from there, as well as from community partners that are working with people who are impacted. So that's how we screen, is through that process. It takes a team to operate and manage that micro units. We certainly were only able to provide shelter monitors 24/7, 7 days a week. It's fenced. It wasn't fenced before. It's fenced around the whole micro unit. So when we did the build, there's also a gate. The team that we work with is, we know the micro units residents were veterans. We'll reach out to the VA. They have support services for veterans and their families. That's the financial assistance for housing. VA also at the initial onset had set aside HUD vouchers. So we connected veterans to the VA services for that. We connected to Care Hawaii and BISAC, whom Sharon mentioned, had Team AHA, and BISAC does counseling. So as we worked with the residents in the micro units, we connect them to the services that are already providing that in our community.
Oh, real quickly, the question is how can homeowner associations work with FEMA to ensure funds are allocated to them? The quick answer is that it's very complicated. I have cards up there with my email address. Please write me what the circumstances and the requests are, and I'll try to work with it to see if we can work a deal.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that there were questions regarding, not questions, but requests regarding building code, so I passed that on to Ashley, who is our county council rep, and as well councilman, and your request of getting the roads back as soon as possible and the water. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.